Welcome everyone to Liberty Dominion USA, the place where everyday pocket change transforms into extraordinary hidden treasure, and where knowledge turns curiosity into opportunity. And today we dive deep into one of the most talked about, controversial, and fascinating modern Lincoln cent stories ever imagined, the legendary 2006 D1 cent that has captured the attention of collectors, error hunters, dreamers, and treasure seekers around the world. A coin rumored and believed by many to be worth an astonishing $12 million because of a rare combination of errors, minting mistakes, production anomalies, and once-in-a-generation possibilities that challenge everything we think we know about modern coinage. And as you settle in for this journey, imagine the power of a single copper-plated zinc cent minted in Denver in 2006 becoming a symbol of how overlooked details, microscopic variations, and improbable circumstances can elevate a humble penny into a multi-million-dollar prize. Because the story of the 2006 D1 cent is not just about money, it is about the mysteries of the minting process, the thrill of discovery, the psychology of rarity, and the endless hope that somewhere, perhaps in your own pocket or change jar, a life-changing coin could still be waiting to be found. And to truly understand why a 2006 D Lincoln cent could reach such an unbelievable valuation, we must begin with the broader context of how U.S. coins are made and why errors occur in the first place. Since every error coin represents a breakdown or deviation in a highly controlled industrial process involving blank planchets, massive presses, dies engraved with intricate designs, precise metal compositions, strict tolerances, and human oversight, all working together at incredible speed. And in 2006, the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents to meet circulation demand, which created the perfect environment for rare mistakes to slip through unnoticed, especially when new equipment calibrations, die maintenance schedules, and metal sourcing issues overlapped in subtle but critical ways. And the 2006 D1 cent is imagined to stand at the intersection of multiple extraordinary errors rather than just one, which is what elevates it from a common error coin worth a few dollars or a few $100s into a theoretical masterpiece of numismatic anomalies valued in the millions. Because collectors and investors are not just paying for a mistake, they are paying for uniqueness, story, provenance, and the impossibility of replication. And one of the most important elements that fuels the $12 million valuation is the possibility of a wrong planchet error combined with transitional metal characteristics, since by 2006 Lincoln cents were officially struck on copper-plated zinc planchets. Yet history has shown that leftover planchets from previous compositions, experimental blanks, or foreign planchets can occasionally be fed into presses accidentally. And if a 2006 D cent were struck on a solid copper planchet or an alloy not authorized for circulation, with a weight, thickness, and metallic signature that clearly deviates from standard specifications, the rarity would instantly skyrocket, especially if metallurgical testing confirmed that the composition matched no known regular issue cent planchets of the era. And this alone could push a coin into 6- or 7-figure territory. But the legend of the $12 million 2006 D cent goes far beyond a single wrong planchet, because it is said to involve a dramatic and visually stunning double die obverse combined with extreme die misalignment, creating a doubling effect so bold and so crisp that even the naked eye could see multiple layers of Lincoln's portrait, inscriptions, and date, not the soft machine doubling often dismissed by collectors, but true hub doubling that shows clear separation lines, notches, and fully rounded secondary images. And when such doubling appears on a modern coin with an otherwise low profile for major doubled dies, the shock factor alone drives demand and value. And if the date 2006 and the mint mark D both exhibit this doubling in perfect harmony, the coin becomes exponentially more desirable, because collectors know that genuine double dies from the modern era are exceptionally scarce compared to those of earlier decades. And the Denver Mint is particularly known for producing fewer dramatic double dies than Philadelphia, making a bold 2006 double die set a historic anomaly. And then, there is the possibility of a dramatic off-center strike combined with a broad strike, where the collar fails and the planchet expands beyond normal diameter while still retaining full or partial date and mint mark, creating a surreal coin that looks more like a medal than a penny. And if such an off-center broad strike were perfectly balanced, aesthetically pleasing, and paired with other errors like doubling and wrong metal, the visual appeal would be breathtaking, because error collectors place enormous value on coins that are not only rare but also spectacular to look at, and visual impact is a major driver of multi-million-dollar prices in the numismatic world, just as it is in fine art. And adding to this mythical profile is the concept of a major die break or retained cud, where a portion of the die cracks and breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface. And if a 2006 cent displayed an unusually large, dramatic cud that interacted with Lincoln's portrait or the date in a way never documented before, it would further cement the coin's status as a one-of-a-kind error, especially if the break showed progression stages that could be studied and traced, proving that the coin came from a dying die at a very specific moment in time. And collectors love coins that tell a story through their physical characteristics, because each crack, break, and distortion becomes a clue to the conditions under which the coin was struck. And beyond these visible errors, the $12 million valuation is also fueled by the idea of a mule error, one of the rarest and most exciting mistakes in U.S. coinage, where the obverse and reverse dies are mismatched. And although mules are extraordinarily rare, the possibility of a 2006 Lincoln set obverse paired with an incorrect reverse design, perhaps from a different denomination or a different series altogether, would instantly place the coin among the most important error coins in American history, because known U.S. mules have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, and a previously unknown modern set mule would ignite the numismatic community like few discoveries ever have. And even without a full mule, a rotated die error of extreme magnitude could add another layer of intrigue, where the reverse is rotated far beyond the typical tolerances, creating a coin that appears twisted or misaligned when flipped. And while minor rotations are relatively common, extreme rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are far scarcer and more desirable, especially when combined with other major errors. And another factor that pushes the imagined value into the 8-figure range is pristine condition, because a coin can be rare, but if it is damaged or worn, its value is limited. Whereas a 2006 cent struck with all these errors, and preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, with blazing original luster, sharp details, and no post-mint damage, would be the ultimate prize. A coin that defies expectations not only in its errors, but also in its survival, and when professional grading services enter the picture, assigning a high mint state grade and certifying the errors with detailed attribution, the market confidence increases dramatically. Because authentication and third-party grading are essential for coins of extreme value, and once a coin like this is encapsulated, photographed, studied, and published in numismatic journals and auction catalogs, it takes on a life of its own, becoming a legend discussed at conventions, forums, and collector gatherings around the world. And the psychological aspect of value cannot be ignored, because a $12 million price tag is not just about metal and mistakes. 2017 D1 cent, a coin that many collectors and error specialists believe could reach an incredible value of $13 million due to a powerful combination of rare minting errors, production mistakes, transitional possibilities, and once-in-a-lifetime circumstances that elevate this humble Lincoln set far beyond its face value. Because this is not just a story about a penny. It is a story about how the smallest details can create the biggest outcomes, how modern coins can still shock the numismatic world, and how knowledge and awareness can potentially change lives. Since the 2017 Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a period of massive production, high-speed minting, evolving quality control systems, and subtle shifts in die preparation and maintenance, all of which created an environment where rare and dramatic errors, though extremely uncommon, were still possible. And when such errors occur not in isolation, but in combination, the result can be a coin so unique, so visually striking, and so historically significant that it becomes the ultimate prize for collectors, investors, and museums alike. And to understand why the 2017 D1 cent could theoretically command a $13 million valuation, we must first appreciate how modern U.S. coins are made, because the minting process involves multiple stages including blank planchet production, metal plating, annealing, washing, upsetting, die engraving, die hardening, hubbing, and high-pressure striking, with each stage presenting opportunities for things to go wrong in subtle or dramatic ways. And while modern technology has reduced the frequency of major errors compared to earlier eras, it has not eliminated them, and in some cases it has introduced new types of errors that are even more fascinating because they reveal hidden complexities of contemporary minting. And the 2017 D-cent is imagined to represent a perfect storm of such anomalies, beginning with the possibility of an incorrect or experimental planchet, because although Lincoln cents in 2017 were officially struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, history has shown that off-metal errors can and do occur, whether through leftover planchets from previous years, test blanks, foreign planchets, or improperly prepared metal stock. And if a 2017 D-cent were discovered struck on a solid copper planchet, a bronze alloy, or an entirely unauthorized composition with a weight and metallic signature that clearly deviates from standard specifications, the rarity would instantly be extraordinary, especially if metallurgical analysis confirmed that the metal composition does not match any known regular issue planchet used by the U.S. Mint in that year, because collectors place immense value on wrong planchet errors, particularly when they occur in the modern era where such mistakes are presumed to be virtually impossible. And this alone could push a coin into the seven-figure range, but the legend of the $13 million 2017 D1 cent goes much further, because it is believed to involve a dramatic and unquestionable double die obverse, not the minor machine doubling that is common and often misunderstood, but true hub doubling that shows clear separation lines, notching, and fully rounded secondary images on Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, and especially the date and mint mark. And in the modern era, genuine bold double dies are extremely rare, particularly from the Denver Mint, which makes the existence of a strong 2017 D double die set almost shocking. And when such doubling is obvious even without magnification, it becomes instantly desirable, because collectors crave errors that are both rare and visually compelling. And when you add the possibility that the doubling appears consistently across multiple design elements, indicating a major hubbing misalignment rather than a localized defect, the significance of the coin grows exponentially. And beyond doubling, the 2017 D-cent is imagined to feature a spectacular off-center strike combined with a broad strike, meaning the coin was struck without the retaining collar properly engaging the planchet, allowing the metal to spread outward beyond its normal diameter while still retaining full or nearly full design elements including the date and mint mark. And off-center broad strikes that preserve key identifying features are highly prized, especially when the percentage of off-centering is dramatic yet balanced, creating a coin that looks almost surreal in its proportions. And visual appeal plays a massive role in high-end numismatics, because collectors are drawn to coins that immediately capture attention and spark conversation. And a beautifully executed off-center broad strike on a modern cent would be a centerpiece in any collection. But the story does not stop there, because another layer of rarity comes from the possibility of a massive die break or retained cud, where a portion of the die cracks and breaks away during production, leaving a raised, unstruck area of metal on the coin. And while small die chips are relatively common, large, dramatic cuds that alter the design in a significant way are far rarer, especially on modern coins. And if a 2017 D-cent displayed a huge retained cud interacting with Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, or the date, It would not only be visually striking but also scientifically interesting, because it would represent a specific moment in the die's failure process, allowing experts to study the progression of the damage and confirm its authenticity. And collectors love coins that tell a story through their physical characteristics, because each crack, break, and distortion becomes a tangible record of what happened inside the mint at the exact moment the coin was struck. And pushing the legend even further is the possibility of a mule error, one of the rarest and most exciting mistakes in U.S. coinage, where an obverse die from one coin type is paired with a reverse die from another. And while mules are extraordinarily rare, especially in the modern era, their discovery sends shockwaves through the numismatic community, because they challenge assumptions about mint quality control and reveal just how complex and human the process really is. And if a 2017 Lincoln cent were found with an incorrect reverse design, even from a different denomination or series, it would instantly become one of the most important error coins ever discovered, because known U.S. mules have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, and a previously unknown modern cent mule could easily push into eight-figure territory given the right circumstances. And even without a full mule, an extreme rotated die error could add another layer of intrigue, because while minor rotations are fairly common, rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are extremely rare and highly sought after, particularly when combined with other major errors. And when multiple errors coexist on a single coin, their individual values do not simply add together, they multiply, because the likelihood of all those errors occurring on the same piece is astronomically low. And this is where the $13 million valuation begins to make sense within the logic of high-end numismatics, because uniqueness is the ultimate currency. And nothing drives value like a coin that cannot be duplicated. And condition plays a crucial role as well, because a coin can be rare, but if it is heavily worn or damaged, its value is limited, whereas a 2017 cent exhibiting all these errors in pristine mint state condition, with original luster, sharp details, and no post-mint damage, would be a true marvel, defying expectations not only in its errors, but also in its survival. And when such a coin is submitted to professional grading services, authenticated, attributed, and encapsulated with a high mint state grade, the market confidence increases dramatically, because third-party certification is essential for coins of extreme value. And once a coin like this is documented, photographed, published, and discussed in numismatic literature and auction catalogs. 1981 cent, a humble Lincoln penny that under extraordinary circumstances is believed by some collectors and researchers to be capable of reaching an almost unimaginable value of $14 million because of a rare convergence of minting errors, production mistakes, transitional anomalies, and survival factors that together transform a common circulation coin into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic phenomenon. Because this story is not just about a price tag, it is about understanding how rarity is born, how mistakes become masterpieces, how modern-era coins can rival the most famous rarities of the past, and how the smallest overlooked details can hold the power to change lives. Since the year 1980 sits at a fascinating crossroads in the history of the Lincoln cent, marking the transitional period just before the United States Mint officially shifted from bronze to copper-plated zinc planchets in 1982, a time when metal compositions, supply chains, and production protocols were in flux, creating conditions ripe for unusual and unintended outcomes. And to truly grasp why a 1981 cent could be valued at $14 million, we must first appreciate the broader context of the minting environment of that era. Because in 1980, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of cents annually to meet circulation demand, relying on high-speed presses, vast quantities of planchets, and constant die usage, all while navigating rising copper prices, budgetary pressures, and experimental considerations that would soon reshape the cent forever. And whenever an institution operates at such scale under such pressure, the possibility of rare and extraordinary mistakes increases, especially when those mistakes occur at the intersection of old standards and new realities. And one of the most powerful drivers of the $14 million valuation is the possibility of a transitional wrong planchet error involving the 1980 cent, because although 1980 cents were officially struck on bronze planchets composed primarily of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc, this period is known for behind-the-scenes experimentation, testing, and logistical overlap that could theoretically allow non-standard planchets to enter production, and if a 1980 cent were discovered struck on an unauthorized planchet, such as a copper-plated zinc blank intended for later years, a foreign planchet, or even an experimental alloy created during early cost-saving trials, the rarity would be staggering, especially if metallurgical analysis confirmed that the composition does not match any officially documented cent planchet of the time, because wrong planchet errors from transitional periods are among the most coveted in all of numismatics, as they provide physical evidence of change, uncertainty, and experimentation within the mint. And such a coin would instantly become a centerpiece of American coinage history. But the legend of the $14,001,980 1 cent does not rest on metal composition alone, because it is imagined to involve a bold and unmistakable double die obverse, one so dramatic that it reshapes the entire appearance of the coin, with strong, separated doubling visible on Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, and especially the date, not the flat, shelf-like appearance of machine doubling that is often mistaken for true rarity, but genuine hub doubling that shows rounded secondary images, notches, and clear separation lines, indicating a misalignment during the die hubbing process, and such double dies from the late 20th century are far rarer than those from earlier decades, because improved quality control reduced their frequency, which means that when a major double die from this era appears, it commands intense attention and demand. And if the 1980 cent in question displayed doubling so strong that it could be recognized without magnification, it would instantly rank among the most important double dies ever discovered, especially if the doubling appeared consistently across multiple design elements, proving that it was not a localized defect but a systemic error in die creation. And adding another layer of intrigue is the possibility of a dramatic off-center strike combined with a broad strike, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar functioning properly, allowing the metal to expand outward beyond its normal diameter, while still retaining full or partial design elements, including the date, and off-center broad strikes that preserve key identifiers are highly prized, particularly when the percentage of off-centering is large yet aesthetically balanced, because collectors value not only rarity but also visual impact, and a beautifully executed off-center broad strike from 1980 would be both a technical marvel and a visual spectacle, drawing immediate attention in any auction or exhibition. And beyond these striking errors, the $14 million legend is further fueled by the possibility of massive die breaks or retained cuts, where cracks in the die progress to the point that pieces of metal break away, leaving raised, unstruck areas on the coin's surface. And while small die chips are relatively common, large, dramatic cuts that significantly alter the design are far rarer, especially when they interact with major elements like Lincoln's portrait or the date. And if a 1980 cent exhibited a huge retained cut that could be traced through different stages of die deterioration, it would provide invaluable insight into the minting process while simultaneously enhancing the coin's rarity and desirability, because collectors are deeply drawn to coins that tell a story through their physical form, each crack and distortion serving as a chapter in the narrative of the coin's creation. And pushing the boundaries of possibility even further is the concept of a mule error associated with the 1980 cent, one of the rarest and most exciting mistakes in U.S. coinage, where an obverse die from one coin type is paired with a reverse die from another. And although mules are extraordinarily rare, especially for cents, their discovery has historically sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, because they challenge assumptions about mint organization and reveal just how complex and human the process truly is. And if a 1980 Lincoln cent were discovered paired with an incorrect reverse design from another denomination or series, it would instantly become one of the most important error coins ever known, with a value that could easily climb into the 8-figure range given the right combination of uniqueness, condition, and documentation. And even without a full mule, an extreme rotated die error could add another dimension of rarity, because while minor rotations are fairly common, rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are exceedingly rare and highly sought after, particularly when combined with other major errors. And when multiple significant errors coexist on a single coin, their combined value is not merely additive but multiplicative, because the probability of all those errors occurring together is astronomically low, making the coin effectively unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value at the highest levels of numismatics. And condition plays a critical role in pushing the 1981 cent toward the $14 million mark, because a coin can be rare, but if it is worn, damaged, or altered, its value is constrained, whereas a coin that exhibits all these extraordinary errors in pristine mint state condition, with original luster, sharp details, and no post-mint damage, defies expectations and becomes a true marvel, a coin that should not exist yet somehow does. And when such a coin is authenticated and graded by a respected third-party grading service, with detailed attribution of each error and a high numerical grade, the market confidence increases dramatically, because certification transforms a remarkable object into a recognized and tradable asset. And once a coin of this magnitude is published in numismatic literature, featured in major auctions, and discussed by experts, 2014 D1 cent, a coin that on the surface appears completely ordinary yet under extraordinary circumstances is believed by many collectors, researchers, and error specialists to be capable of reaching an unbelievable valuation of $15 million due to a rare and powerful convergence of minting errors, production mistakes, transitional anomalies, die failures, and survival factors that together elevate this humble Lincoln cent far beyond its face value, and even beyond what most people believe is possible for a modern coin, because this is not merely a story about money, it is a story about precision and imperfection, about how massive industrial systems can still fail in tiny but spectacular ways, about how rarity is born not from intention, but from accident, and about how attention to detail can unlock opportunities hidden in plain sight. Since the year 2014 represents a fascinating moment in the ongoing evolution of United States coinage, a time when the U.S. Mint was operating at extraordinary speed and efficiency while producing billions of coins annually, relying on advanced technology, automated systems, and rigorous quality control, yet still depending on human oversight, mechanical tolerances, and complex supply chains that can never be completely immune to error. And it is precisely within this environment that the most shocking modern errors can occur. Because when something goes wrong in a system designed to prevent mistakes, the result is often something truly remarkable, and the 2014 D1 cent is imagined to represent the ultimate example of this phenomenon, a coin where multiple highly significant errors occurred together in a way so improbable that it challenges our understanding of modern minting capabilities, beginning with the possibility of an off-metal or wrong planchet strike, which alone would make the coin extraordinarily valuable. Because in 2014 Lincoln cents were officially struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, and any deviation from that standard, such as a cent struck on a solid copper planchet, a bronze alloy, a foreign planchet, or even an experimental or improperly prepared blank, would represent a catastrophic and rare breakdown in quality control, and if metallurgical analysis confirmed that such a coin's weight, composition, and metallic signature did not match any officially authorized cent planchet for that year, the implications would be enormous, because collectors place immense value on wrong planchet errors from the modern era, where such mistakes are assumed to be virtually impossible, and the rarity of a confirmed 2014 D off-metal cent would instantly push it into elite territory, especially if the metal composition suggested an undocumented or experimental alloy, which would raise questions about behind-the-scenes testing, leftover materials, or logistical overlap at the mint. And this alone could justify a multi-million-dollar valuation. But the legend of the $15 million 2014 D1 cent does not stop there, because it is believed to involve a dramatic and unquestionable double die obverse, not the common machine doubling that produces flat, shelf-like distortions and is often dismissed by experienced collectors, but true hub doubling that results from misalignment during the die creation process, producing strong, rounded secondary images that are clearly separated from the primary design. And in this imagined example, the doubling would be bold and consistent across Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, and especially the date and mint mark, creating a coin that appears almost doubled in its entirety. And such dramatic double dies are exceptionally rare in the modern era due to improved hubbing techniques and stricter controls, which means that when one appears, it commands intense attention and demand. And if a 2014 D set displayed doubling so strong that it could be recognized without magnification, it would instantly become one of the most famous double dies in U.S. history, rivaling classics from much earlier decades. And adding another layer of rarity and visual impact is the possibility of a spectacular off-center strike combined with a broad strike, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar functioning properly, allowing the metal to expand outward beyond its normal diameter while still retaining full or nearly full design elements, including the date and mint mark, and off-center broad strikes that preserve. Key identifiers are among the most prized error coins, particularly when the percentage of off-centering is dramatic yet aesthetically pleasing, because collectors are drawn to coins that are not only rare but also visually striking, and a beautifully executed off-center broad strike on a modern cent would be a centerpiece in any advanced collection, drawing immediate attention and admiration. And beyond these already extraordinary errors, the $15 million legend is further fueled by the possibility of massive die breaks or retained cuts, where cracks in the die progress to the point that pieces of the die break away, leaving raised, unstruck areas on the coin's surface. And while small die chips are relatively common, large, dramatic cuts that significantly alter the design are far rarer, especially on modern coins. And if a 2014 D cent exhibited a huge retained cut interacting with Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, or the date, it would provide both visual drama and scientific interest, because such features document the life cycle and failure of a die at a specific moment in time, and collectors deeply value coins that tell a story through their physical characteristics, where each crack, distortion, and raised area becomes a chapter in the narrative of the coin's creation. And pushing the boundaries of possibility even further is the concept of a mule error associated with the 2014 D cent, one of the rarest and most exciting mistakes in U.S. coinage, where an obverse die from one coin type is paired with a reverse die from another. And while mules are extraordinarily rare, particularly in the modern era, their discovery has historically sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, because they reveal profound breakdowns in mint procedures and challenge assumptions about how carefully controlled the process truly is. And if a 2014 D Lincoln cent were discovered paired with an incorrect reverse design from another denomination or series, it would instantly become one of the most important error coins ever discovered, with a value that could easily soar into eight-figure territory given the right combination of uniqueness, condition, and documentation. And even without a full mule, an extreme rotated die error could add another dimension of rarity, because while minor rotations are fairly common, rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are exceedingly rare and highly sought after, especially when combined with other major errors. And when multiple significant errors coexist on a single coin, their combined value is not simply additive but multiplicative, because the probability of all those errors occurring together on the same piece is astronomically low, effectively making the coin unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value at the highest levels of numismatics. And condition plays a critical role in pushing the 2014 D1 cent toward the $15 million mark, because a coin can be rare, but if it is worn, damaged, or altered after leaving the mint, its value is limited, whereas a coin that exhibits all these extraordinary errors in pristine mint state condition, with original luster, sharp details, and no post-mint damage, becomes something truly astonishing.